Redfin just reported that there are 500,000 more home sellers than buyers in the current housing market nationwide. This is totally misleading. This is why you've got to get local information about your market. They had some long analysis about how they take the number of active listings divided by the number of home buyers, which I'm not even sure you can really codify into a statistic. And the reality of this report is when you dig into it, for people like us that live in the Northeast or the greater Philadelphia area, this report means nothing. These buyer markets, where they're seeing a big differential between home sellers and buyers, are in places like Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada. They are all Sunbelt states where they're seeing a lot more inventory come to the market. And past Florida and Texas, the rest of the country is a lot different. So, very misleading from Redfin. So, when you go and look at the local data here and you see what's happening in the greater Philadelphia area, they identified the city of Philadelphia as a balanced market and some of the suburban counties as seller friendly markets. I'm going to share the chart here with you. Now, there is some good news here. Inventory's up a little over 16% in the metro Philadelphia area year over year. Competition has waned for home buyers. This is all very true stuff. And this is what normally happens when you get into the summer months. The next 6 months are not going to be like the past 6 months in the greater Philadelphia area. We're going to see people start taking vacations in July and August. We're going to see folks get wrapped up in the holidays at the end of the year. So we know that this is a normal seasonal flow when the market does slow down, especially after Memorial Day and really right at July 4th. There's going to be a window here in June where home sellers can still generate a lot of competition for their home, but it's not going to be those optimal conditions. Now, here's the good news. People are buying and selling 12 months a year. And when you actually dig into the data here, and our friends over at Resi Club did a really nice job of this because when you look at the methodology Redfin took, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then you see things like Zillow's heat map calling some markets hotter than others. The reality is in the Northeast, we're not seeing the heavy building that happened from 2020 up until 2023 in a lot of these states that are experiencing buyer markets right now. So the facts are that sales and pending sales, they're roughly flat year over year in the greater Philadelphia area. The number of closed homes are up 1.4%, and pending sales are down 1.4%. So relatively flat. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be closing over the next 60 days here. So we're in a market that's a lot like the market that we saw last year. So what does all this mean for buyers and sellers? For sellers, I'm being very mindful of where the last home sold for when pricing my property. We're not seeing that incredible pandemic appreciation anymore. We're seeing 2, 3, 4% appreciation depending on what neighborhood you're in. And the average home right now in the suburbs is selling anywhere from 99 to 100.6% of the asking price. That's the suburban counties, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery. In the city of Philadelphia, we're seeing 95.4% as the average list to sales price ratio. So homes are selling pretty close, but they're not selling quite at the asking price like they were even last year. So you want to be mindful about how you're pricing the property. The good news is that days on market is still trending around 3 weeks. So we're seeing a fast-paced market, but it's not that 1 or 2 week market that we saw a couple years ago. So the market is normalizing. What we're seeing on the purchase side is that rates are relatively flat. They haven't moved a whole lot. They're still trending around 7%. And we're seeing that there's a little less competition. Showings are down over 7% year over year in the greater Philadelphia area. So this headline that there's 500,000 more sellers than buyers couldn't be further from the truth in our marketplace. And when you see declining showings, as a buyer, the opportunity is that, hey, that home that's been on the market maybe 3 weeks, maybe I can make an offer there and not compete with anybody and negotiate with the seller. Maybe I can get the terms that I want. The opportunity for sellers is that home prices are still holding steady and up, just not up as much as they were in the past. So pricing your home based on the comparable sales is a very sound strategy. A lot to unpack here, but you really want to look at the actual data that's happening, like I just broke down for you here. So if you need help, you got questions, you know where to reach us.